The Michael mod from Asvape. The Asvape Michael mod was sent to me for the purpose of this review by av40.com, so big thanks to those guys. Let's jump right into the review and talk specs. So it's 60 by 28 by 91, it's about 3.5 by 2.5 inches and 1 inch wide. It can fire from 5 to 200 watts, requires two 18650 batteries. The chassis is made of zinc alloy. The artwork is created using a water transfer printing process. It uses an American-made chip called the VO200. It has several modes: wattage, temp control, bypass, and variable power control. Temp control supports titanium, nickel, and 316 stainless steel. It's also firmware upgradable, and it has all the typical safety features like low battery protection, low resistance protection, reverse polarity protection, and short circuit protection. So let's talk about presentation. They really stepped up in the design department all the way down to the box. When you pull it out of the box, you'll find a work of art plastered onto a heavy-duty device. Well, I think it's a work of art. I've seen some people call it ugly, and I can see how some people might think it's gaudy or tasteless, but I think it looks really cool. We all have our own preferences when it comes to art. There are two versions of art available, the Devil's Night and the Walking Dead. There's also a much more expensive stabilized wood version. I have the Walking Dead model. So according to Asvape.com, the Walking Dead model was inspired by Michael Jackson's Thriller music video. Supposedly they hired a famous artist to hand paint the original design in the theme of zombies. I can't find any information about who this famous artist is, but that's what they claim. Everywhere I looked, people say the art is from a famous illustrator, but nobody says who it is. Why would you not tell people who it is? I would think that it would be a selling point. My guess is that he's not actually famous. But famous or not, I think they should have given the artist more credit, like a signature on the device or the battery door, or even on the website. Anyway, the firing button also has some nice fine details. It's in the design of a seal or a crest. It features the Asvape initials and is surrounded by the words Aequitas and In Asvape We Trust. Aequitas is Latin for justice, equality, and fairness. I'm not sure how that relates to this device, but Latin is cool, so I kind of like it. But I think in Asvape We Trust, that part is a little bit cheesy. You'll also find some more fancy art engraved into the top around the 510 connection. I have no idea what this is supposed to be, but it makes me think of some sort of alien design like crop circles or something. But it looks nice. One difference between the Walking Dead model over the Devil's Night version is that the Walking Dead version is one full piece of art. It's different on both sides. The Devil's Night version is mirrored on each side. It still looks really cool, but just something I noticed. So that's the design. Now let's look at the device build. The first thing you'll probably notice is that it's really big. The first thing my wife said when she saw it was that it's so big, almost as if she was disgusted by it. She's not a vapor though, and I'm used to using big box mods, so it doesn't bother me. She's right though, it's a pretty big device and might turn some people off. It's way bigger than other popular dual battery devices on the market like the Smoke Alien or Wismic Predator 228. It's about the size of some of my older devices like the Pioneer for You IPv4 or Smoke X Cube 2. And while it is a big device, it doesn't seem so big that it's hard to hold. You'll notice that one side has grooves. This makes it really comfortable. I think those grooves were smart. It makes it ergonomic. And if you like to fire with your thumb, the slant on the top near the 510 seems to be a really comfortable place for your index finger. It's also not that heavy for a large device, even with batteries in it. It's made of metal and covered in a rubbery plastic sort of material. The Asvape website calls it airframe skin, but that might be a poor translation from Chinese because I can't find any information about anything called airframe material. And they have poor English translation all over their website and user manual, so that could definitely be it. Anyway, the rubbery material is really nice though. It's not just a thin sticker. You can also feel the texture of the design, just slightly. It really gives the device the feeling of high quality. The only con with the rubbery material is that it's not grippy and actually a little bit slippery. It has nice clicky buttons. Some people like that and some don't. I like it. They aren't loose or squishy, and the up and down buttons look like a part of the design rather than actual buttons, which I think works great for the aesthetics. The one issue that I've noticed with the firing button is that it can be slightly rotated. I don't like that. It makes me worry that it might eventually break. The button doesn't rattle though, it just rotates a little. On the bottom you'll find a sliding battery door with venting holes in the bottom. Under the battery cover you'll also find a serial number and a small magnet. I'm really not a fan of that door. It just slides off way too easily. Mine doesn't rattle, but I've seen reviews of others that do. I think Asvape should have used more magnets, or maybe stronger magnets, to keep it in place. I worry that the door might slide off in my pocket, although it hasn't yet, so it might not be that big of a problem. I still don't like that door though. You can fit up to 28mm diameter atomizers before you get overhang, so that's nice. And the 510 is spring loaded. It has a really nice crisp LED screen. It is kind of hard to see in the sun though. The buttons protrude just slightly, so they are easy to find. And you can also charge your batteries within the device if you want. I always recommend charging removable batteries in an external charger for safety reasons, but this does have balanced charging capabilities if that's what you're looking for. This doesn't have a pass-through charging feature, so you can't vape while it's charging. Okay, let's quickly cover the menu system. 5 clicks turns it on. Once it's on, press the fire button 5 times again to get into the menu. The plus and minus button will navigate through every mode available. Every screen will also show you the system setting. If you navigate to the system setting in any menu and press up, you will exit the menu. If you press down, it will turn off the device. If you do 3 clicks instead of 5, you'll lock the device. This is strange because it pops up every time you go to enter the menu on 5 clicks. If you go to the menu fast enough, it doesn't actually activate the lock, but it's a little jarring every time I do it. I think they could have found a cleaner solution of implementing that locking feature. Okay, so now let's talk about the modes. So the power or wattage mode is your typical wattage mode. It works like you'd expect. You can change the wattage from 5 watts to 200 watts. This mode accepts atomizers built at 0.08 to 3 ohms, so it can go pretty low if you like to use sub-ohm builds. Temperature control, I haven't really messed around with much because I don't use temp control, but all of the reviews online say that it's pretty accurate. Temperature control mode has built-in presets that support titanium, nickel, and stainless steel 316. There are 2 sub-modes within temperature control, NC and AC. AC is automatic control. You set the type of wire you're using and it supplies power at what it thinks is best. You can't set the maximum temperature yourself in this mode. NC is normal control, which is like how most temperature control devices work. You set your coil type and you adjust the max temperature. The one feature I would have liked to see here is the ability to change the temperature coefficient of resistance, or TCR. That way you could adjust the TCR values for any type of wire. This device is firmware upgradable, so maybe we'll see that in the future. Temp control mode supports atomizers built between 0.05 and 3 ohms. Okay, now bypass mode. So this is almost like using a mech mod. As far as I understand, this mode still has some safety features in place. It doesn't allow you to adjust any settings. It pulls power directly from your batteries, as if you were using a mech mod. So if you want more power, you have to build your atomizer at lower ohms to draw more power from the batteries. Bypass mode works with atomizers built between 0.25 and 3, so they aren't letting users super sub-ohm in this mode. And finally, variable power control mode, or VPC. This is a really cool feature that lets you create a custom curve of power. For my test, it seems like each dot represents about 2 seconds. The final dot is 8 seconds. So let's use an example of how this works. You can set the first 2 seconds to 80 watts, then drop the next 2 seconds down to 70 watts, then to 60 watts, and finally 50 watts. Or you can start the vape out cool at 40 watts and gradually increase to 80 watts, or whatever you prefer. You can set each dot anywhere from 5 watts to 200 watts. And you can store up to 5 different presets so that you can always pick which curve you want to use. To exit that menu, you hold the fire button for 2 seconds and then press either the plus or minus button. So that's all of the modes. Now let's talk performance. The device fires fast and immediately. There's no noticeable delay whatsoever. The buttons work fast too. You can make wattage adjustments really quick. For people like me who have low patience, this is a great feature. The battery life also seems very good. It doesn't seem to be draining battery power while it's off, and it isn't using up a ton of power while I'm using it. Okay, and one last thing, the VO200 chipset. So the VO chip was created by VOTech, an American company based in Riverside, California. This chip was designed to be on par with, or better than, Yeehee chipsets and DNA chipsets. You also have the ability to edit the chip to add your own personalized logo. You'll need to install the VO chip editing software, which is the same software you need to update the firmware. From videos I've seen, it looks pretty easy to use. The only drawback is that it's Windows only. I use a Mac, so I wasn't able to try it out. I've also looked at some reviews of the VO chip, and it looks very cleanly built and manufactured with the highest quality in mind. One review said that it appears to be even higher quality than the DNA 200 board. This reviewer, who goes by Mr. 17G, tested the VO75 board and found that at every setting it's putting out the max wattage that it claims to be. He has charts to prove it. It does seem to drop slightly as the wattage goes up, so the higher you go, the less likely you are to get the max power during the entire hit, but he says the drops are negligible. He even tested the power curves and found that each curve was very accurate. The VO chipset by itself costs $70, and I believe this is the 75-watt chip. From what I can tell, the VO200 model has only been made available to Asvape. That will probably change in time, but I think for now, Asvape is the only manufacturer using it. Okay, so that's everything. I only have a few issues with it. First, the price. At $110, it's pricey, but if you consider the manufacturing quality and the fact that the chip itself probably costs more than $70 each, it's understandable. The rotating fire button is also questionable, but doesn't seem to be a big deal. The menu system isn't very user-friendly and could use some fine-tuning, but also not a huge deal. The one thing that I really dislike is the battery door. It just slides off too easily. Everything on the Micromod is high quality except for that loose door. It makes it feel cheap. But the Micromod has pretty much every feature that a vapor could want. Adjustable power curves, temp control, bypass mode, and a super fast and accurate chip. The one big thing missing is a TCR feature for temp control. Because of its advanced feature, size, and price, I'd say this is more for a hardcore vapor or collector, but I'm sure anyone could get the hang of it. Personally, I love it. So big thanks to Av40.com for sending it to me. You can pick it up from their site for $110. They carry both the Devil's Night and the Walking Dead models. And Av40 also takes PayPal and has a free shipping option if you don't mind waiting a while.